there are still persistent gender gaps in terms of women and men in all aspects of the labour market. But if we take the GCC countries, we see that labour force participation rate for women has increased to 33.5 in 2023. So there has been a remarkable increase. Men's labour force participation rate in the GCC countries in 2023 stands at something like 83.9%. So there's about almost 26.9% gap in the labour force participation rates in the GCC, whereas globally the gap is a little smaller. It's about 25 percentage points, but it's still significant. Now, when it comes to women who are working, we find they are more likely to be working in those occupations and sectors which are at the lower skill, lower wage segment. They are overrepresented in informal activities. For example, domestic workers are normally women, and they remain outside the purview of labour law. Women also tend to be represented in female-dominated occupations such as care work. In fact, 67% of care workers globally are women. Furthermore, women are more likely to be subject to violence and harassment in the world of work. And here I would like to mention ILO's Convention 190, which was adopted in 2019 to reduce violence and harassment in the world of work. And there has been a huge response and high adoption rate of this convention. Since gender inequalities are so entrenched in labour markets and in societies, policies to address gender equalities need to be systematic, they need to be intentional, and they need to be integrated. And so there needs to be macroeconomic policies and employment policies that really support women's occupations and sectors to create jobs for women, not only in the traditional women's sectors, but also in the other sectors such as the STEM-related sectors. To really make change, there has to be gender-responsive policies that contribute to a transformative agenda of gender equality. And transformative agenda meaning that it really addresses the root causes of gender inequality stemming from social norms, from inequalities in terms of the male breadwinner, women homemaker model, to really allow women to enter and thrive in labour markets. And for that, statistics is absolutely critical. So all data must be disaggregated by gender. It is important that women have the protection, including maternity protection, which is very important to enable women to work. Some employers, we find, have also initiated creches and care for children in the workplaces to ensure that they can work and they can engage in paid work. But also having women in decision-making processes within companies could be very important because, you do need gender-responsive policies and also to have women role models and women mentors in the workplace to break the glass ceiling that exists. In fact, in terms of leadership positions worldwide, we find that women occupy about 36% of middle management and upper management positions. But in the Gulf countries, in Saudi Arabia, we have some recent data which shows that there has been some improvement, of course, moving from about 7.5% in 2018 to about 19.5% after the pandemic. Investing in care policies is absolutely critical for gender equality because it helps women balance their work and their family responsibilities. In 2018, there was a survey done which showed that about 647 million women are outside of the labour force because of their caregiving responsibilities. And therefore, if we want to improve employment opportunities for women, it's critical to address the deficits in the care economy. And over here, it's, as you know, women spend much longer hours in unpaid care. A woman spends 4 hours, 25 minutes per day on unpaid care activities compared to 1 hour, 23 for men. And to change these dynamics, it is important to recognize unpaid care as work. It is important to redistribute unpaid care between women and men. What more needs to be done to ensure that care responsibilities are not just seen as a woman's responsibility, but that care is a public good and that it is mainstreamed into policies of employers, governments, all other stakeholders. And here it is important to have a coherence between macroeconomic policies, monetary fiscal policies, as well as social policies, care leave policies, maternity protection, etc., early childhood care, elderly care systems in place, with creating the care infrastructure along with policies that are targeted at women, such as domestic workers who provide care in many situations. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the use of ICT technologies really intensified, and many of us who didn't lose jobs were able to work from home. And in a sense, work from home has become the norm for most organizations and companies. And in some sense, this offers flexibility for women, and a survey that we did shows that 35% of women prefer work from home for the flexibility it offers in terms of balancing care and work responsibilities. But at the same time, one also needs to be cautious and careful that it doesn't lead to making the gender inequalities more entrenched in the workplace. Just transition is extremely important for gender equality, but it is transitioning to the green economy in a manner that is socially just as well as inclusive. There has to be the skilling possibilities in place so that women can get the jobs that are created in the new green sectors. In the context of the transition to the digital economy, again, jobs will be created and jobs will be lost. For all of these, as the transition to the green, the digital, and the care economies happen in the future, it is absolutely important to ensure that along with the policies that shape the future of work and create jobs in these new sectors, that these jobs are decent, that these jobs come with rights, come with voice, and they come with the protection that is needed. The gender pay gap is a persistent problem, and it's also an injustice because women get paid on the average about 20% less than men globally. The principle of equal pay for work of equal value is not respected. So in terms of ensuring equal pay for work of equal value, it is important to have not only policies in place for wages, but also wage protection as well as wage transparency to ensure that equal pay is respected. It is important that policies for pay equity are seen as part of an overall strategy for gender equality and not separately. To ensure that the pay gap between men and women, which is so persistent, does decrease, the EPIC, which is the Equal Pay International Coalition, was set up in 2017 by the ILO, the UN Women, and OECD coming together. In the context of the Sustainable Development Agenda, goals 5, 8, SDG 10 all contribute to gender equality, but of course all 17 goals of the SDG agenda do mainstream gender equality. I would also say that it is disappointing that we haven't made the progress that we thought we would make towards gender equality by 2030. The GCC countries have actually made quite important strides in terms of promoting gender equality, and the discourse on gender equality has been far more mainstreamed. And for the ILO, this is a major axis of its work in terms of employment and social protection and labor protection in the GCC countries. The members of the G20 agreed to reduce the labor force participation gap between women and men by 25% by 2025. These kind of initiatives are very important. Because it also shows the political willingness of member states to address this very critical issue of gender pay gap. The UN Secretary General launched a global accelerator on jobs and social protection for just transition, and the global accelerator aims at creating 400 million jobs and extending social protection to 4 million people. And the care economy and gender equality are critical aspects of this initiative as well. And finally, let me mention that in the governing body of the ILO, the Global Social Justice Coalition was launched. And the aim of the Global Social Justice Coalition is to bring like-minded partners together towards achievement of social justice in all aspects, particularly in the world of work and through promoting gender equality.